I made you another board. This is the board that I'm hoping is going to light a fire under our arse so that we can get organised and act faster than we usually would. As a media person, seeing that they spent millions of pounds on just one medium in just 2 weeks, you go, yes, they have a big budget, but that must mean that they're also on a deadline. And then if you look at the rate that they've been killing people, you go, I think these people are on a deadline. And if we know anything, it's that nothing has happened by accident. All of the actions that we're seeing have been by design and they're predicting our behaviour. So we're just going to get stuck in and see what they're predicting based on 3 concepts. The concept of story, the concept of narrative, and how information is spread when a story breaks out. When a story does break out, all journalists know that it kind of goes through this peak of sharing with everyone, and then everyone kind of understands what's happening, and everyone starts being in the know. But here's the bit we're interested in. Once a story does break out, there's this little tiny piece of time, and this tiny piece of time is called the positioning land grab, where all journalists run to try and position this story in a very specific way so that it fits the wider narrative that serves their purpose. A really good example is what happened in the war in Ukraine. Now, the general narrative is that Russia is a baddie. Soon as the Ukraine war happened, it started pretty quickly being called an invasion. That was one of the storylines. The other storyline is that Ukraine is an underdog. The other storyline was that the Ukrainian president was a hero, and many other stories that kept on fitting into this narrative of Russia is a baddie and Ukraine is therefore the goodie. And that was just kind of how we perceive the situation. Now, if we're marketing a genocide, it's in our best interest that all the stories that come out fit our narrative. So our worst case scenario is lots of stories coming out that don't fit our narrative, because once that starts happening, just like the Iraq war, slowly but surely, some people will start knowing that we're telling lies. And what happens is people start being a little bit more privy to the reality of what's happening. Now that happens quite slowly at first, but then eventually everyone kind of cottons on. And it takes a long time, but we do eventually get there. The bit that's scary is not just the people who know, but the people that speak up. And you can imagine that they're obviously less than the people who know, because you have to know to speak up. And that happens quite slowly again, and it kind of keeps on going. Just as an aside for all of you guys who are marketers, this is where we can segment our messaging quite nicely. For those in between believing what we're saying at face value and believing the truth, we just have to give them a whole bunch of confusion messaging, where we say it's complex and we just keep saying, what about Hamas? And then here, for the people in between understanding the truth and figuring out if they should speak up or not, this is where we put fear in them. We tell them they're going to lose their job. We accuse them of being anti-Semitic, and we tell them they're supporting terror, because it's in our best interest to keep that quiet. Here's what I'm saying to you. They know these graphs very well. They've predicted these graphs and they've predicted these trajectories, and that's the rate at which they are killing babies, to be honest with you. So that's why you go, oh, that's actually quite an unprecedented rate to kill babies. And it's because we didn't have social media before. So there's a slight haste to kill as many people as possible and commit this genocide and get it over and done with, so that not a lot of people speak up. So this is what they know about us, and that's what they're predicting. They're acting on this basis, which means that necessarily their worst case scenario is that the truth is spread faster than they can control. And then beyond that, people speak up faster than they can control, because that is really the damning part that means that they have to stop acting in the way that they're acting. I do want to say that no marketer in their right mind would spend a penny on your silence if your voice were worthless. Nobody would waste their time. If it meant nothing for you to speak up, you wouldn't have seen a single ad that confused you. You wouldn't have seen a single headline that made you go, maybe there's 2 sides. Nobody would have bothered. They would have let you speak up as much as you want. So necessarily what that means is your voice has value. So this is my plea to get you to speak up and shift the narrative and start using these words. Some of these you've probably already seen on the internet, but I just want to put it here. Once we stop using the word settler, and we start using the word colonizer, that's when we shifted the narrative. Once we stop talking about it as a war, we start talking about it as a genocide, That's when we've shifted the narrative. Once everyone kind of knows that it's a little bit ew to drink anything from Starbucks or purchase anything from Starbucks, and boycotting becomes mainstream, that's when we've shifted the narrative. So that's what it means to shift a narrative, but this is the rate at which we have to do it, because they've already predicted this, and that's the rate at which they're killing. So if you were umming and ahhing about whether or not you as a white ally are needed right now to speak up, I hope this gives you the shove that you need. So if you at any point have gone, I'm a little bit afraid to speak up, that's your trigger to speak up. That's how you know they have reached you and it was worth reaching you with that messaging, so you should speak up.